And it's the same with the way Christians think the word kafir is like this incredibly dangerous term that the Muslims are slinging around. They're like they're slurring us, right? Bro, this is so funny. Look, this guy. It's a very harsh word to use in some countries. Yes, dumb chatters. Islam kills apostates. Hasan's so uneducated about Islam is crazy. What do I do to this guy? How do you not know kafir is harsh? Shaking my head. What do I do to this guy? To all the to the ummah that's in the chat right now. What do we do with him? What do we do with a guy like this? This guy knows better. Okay? Listen, Muslims, shut your fucking stupid mouths, Muslims. A Christian is talking. A Christian is talking. I have done the reading, sir. You must be lying to me about your fucking personal experiences growing up in a Muslim country. That must be a lie. You are lying, sir. How do I get to this guy? It's so funny. No, brother. No. Never said lying. You are just kind of out of the Islamic culture, it seems like. How into the Islamic culture are you? I'm talking about my own personal experience, and I'm pretty sure that like most of the places in the MENA region, this is not like this is, first of all, the killing of apostates is fucking ridiculous. Okay, like I saw someone saying that in Iran, right? Like in Iran they killed the apostates. It's like, brother, even in some of the most like rigid fundamentalist structures of Islam, you are greatly fucking exaggerating what takes place. You watched television shows and you read Sam Harris, and now your understanding of the Muslim world is so fucking busted that you are literally talking to a Muslim dude who grew up in a fucking Muslim country telling you that's not the fucking case, and you're like, dude, you're out of touch. What the fuck do you think is going on, bro? You think this is a Crusader Kings campaign? What are you talking about? The punishment for leaving Islam is death. That is literally true. It's not practiced everywhere, but that's why calling someone a kafir is very harsh. Oh, dude, we will never be able to recover from the damage that fucking former Muslims did to Western discourse. We will never be able to recover from it. This is never going to be fixed, okay? Because so many of these motherfuckers wrote books to be like, guys, I promise you, I would get fucking killed because I'm an outward atheist, okay? And Jank even fucking plays into it as well. Jank plays into us as well a little bit. Like, I hate this shit. I fucking hate this shit so much. Yeah, Ayan Hirsi Ali, all of these fucking people came to the Western world and did the Yeonmi Park bullshit for Islam, where it's like, I promise, yeah, I told someone I was an atheist, and then they told the morality police, and I basically had to escape. I had to escape the country. Otherwise, they would have fucking killed me. They would have killed me. They would have killed me. And it's like, which country are you from? Lebanon. They would have killed me. Which country are you from? Turkey. You are not tapped in, brother. I'm tapped in. I listen to Bill Maher, Sam Harris, and, those are my favorite. Those are my Those are my favorite thinkers. Apostasy does have the death penalty in Afghanistan, Brunei, Mauritania, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, the United Arab Emirates, Iran, and Yemen, but it doesn't seem to be applied all that frequently. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's fucking, it's not. It's not like, it's like thinking that people still chop your hand off for stealing. Okay? This is not even a defense of like any application of this idiocy in general, but it's fucking ridiculous. It's like thinking in America they execute you for violating sodomy laws. Like, oh, really? In numerous states, they have sodomy laws still. Do you go to fucking prison for butt fucking? No, you don't. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Your mom in Alabama sucked my cock and she didn't go to prison. What does that tell you? Okay? Is that just a minute thing? Philippines is a Muslim archipelago, and most of the people I know there switch between Islam and Catholicism like it's a soul's weapon set too, cheesing a boss in Aji style when they get married while staying in the same town. I'm just hearing about this K-word discourse. No, it's just, I can't. The reason why I use that as a comparison is because it's like, it's situational, but for the most part, in most of the planet, it's not as serious of a word to use. But Christians, especially those in the Western world, greatly overemphasize the severity of this language. They will literally be like, no, they're saying that to us because they want to kill us. You understand? Like, they want to kill the non-believers. They want to kill the non-believers. And it's so funny to hear like some dumb fuck being like, I'm Muslim, and actually if you do call someone a kuffar or kafir, that means like you want to execute them. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. And you're also freaking, you're freaking the brother, they're calling us infidels. Chatter is an Islam engineer, bro. On Allah, bro, I swear. Yeah, it's incredibly fucking stupid. It's totally overblown. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, it's the same with fucking Goyim. It's the same with Goyim. It's just like, it just means like dumb, non-Jewish person. That's the best way to describe it. Gentile is the kinder way to reference non-Jewish people, and Goyim is like the dumb, like like John Fetterman. Well, I guess he's more of an ogre. A Gentile, sorry, not Gentile, Gentile. Whatever. So, you know, it's like gringo, gaijin, Yankee. Like, there are numerous versions of this. It's not serious. I don't think we should even entertain this idea of Goyim being a slur or race. It's identical to Latino saying gringo or Hawaiian saying haole. There's no institutional Jewish supremacy outside of Israel, so who the fuck cares? Exactly. That's it. That I agree. The reason why it's like annoying me is because people are taking it super seriously, because like they're like, well, Jeffrey Epstein is like a domineering, towering force in American politics. Like, he was the load-bearing pedophile of American politics, and he was calling non-Jews Goyim. Like, it's ridiculous. It doesn't reflect anything. Like, it doesn't reflect anything serious. And people that actually get super invested in this discourse are unironically and inadvertently, without realizing, genuinely leaning into this like Jews control America shit. Okay, I'm not just saying it because it's like, ooh, it's scary, like Nazis use it and you shouldn't use it for that reason. Clearly, I don't give a fuck when Nazis use it. I think it's funny. Like, I'm literally showing you that there are hilarious utilizations of the word Goyim, especially when it's attached to other words like this. That's like a very funny practical application of it. I'm not saying you're like signaling yourself as a Nazi. At the end of the day, when I see people like Anna saying Goyim, it does make me extremely uncomfortable as a Jew. A couple months ago, Zoomer on Twitter using Goyslop, and someone pointed out that it is a literal Nazi term. They were like, oh my God, I had no idea. I'm sorry, I'll stop using it. That's the leaking effect of Nazism. Yeah, exactly. No, it is 100%. Also, Goyslop is kind of a banger, but that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get into that. It is kind of funny though. But you know, like I said, it's just just the slop affix is good. It's good. It's you know, we're elevating Jewish voices. We're not saying goy slop. But like my point is there are a lot of people who don't even know where this is coming from. There are a lot of people that don't even know where it's coming from, and they're using it. And I don't think people who are anti-Zionist should be using it. I don't. Especially, like, you can make jokes about it if you want. Obviously, I do all the fucking time. But, like, contextually, like, using it sincerely as a way to, like, fight back against Israeli influence or Israel is influence in American politics is fucking insane, okay? Because you either think that Jews control the American government and they are like organizing on the basis of being a part of this international monolithic Jewry, or you think this is American imperialism and you know, Israel's existence hinges on its purpose for American empire, and at times Israel has been able to overstep its boundaries. And also set up a pervasive network of influence in the United States of America that churns out a bunch of fucking self-selecting psychopaths who genuinely do believe in Israel dominating the fucking region, right? Also, the Majority Report. Thank you for the raid. I'm starting to think Anna Kasparian is anti-Semitic. Not gonna lie, this shit in the Tucker Carlson conversation doesn't look good. I have not talked to Anna in years. Anna is not a big fan of mine. I appreciate her advocacy against Israel. And I think as someone who is doing this kind of sincere advocacy against Israel, when you do stuff like this, you're basically you're basically giving a gift wrapped basket of goods to Zionists. That's number one. And number two, because they love being like, see, told you they're anti-Semitic, see. And also, even if you don't personally consider anti-Semitism to be as significant a version of hatred as like anti-black sentiment or Islamophobia, because there's no like systemic for the reason that there is not any like systemic discrimination associated with anti-Semitism currently in American history, not throughout history, but like currently in contemporary American society. That still doesn't mean that you lean into that shit, because when you lean into that shit, it's unproductive. You all of a sudden are leaning into immaterial, nonsensical bullshit. But they're going to call you an anti-Semite no matter what. Brother, my entire life, I have been called a white supremacist, a misogynist, transphobic, homophobic, a person who's secretly a Republican. Who gives a fuck? You think I give a shit? No, I have my values, okay? And you should have your values. And you should advocate for the things that you think are right, and you should stay away from things that you think are wrong. It's that simple. It's not more complicated than that. It doesn't fucking matter what people say to disparage you. You know what the truth is. And there have been so many people, weak people devoid of a backbone, people without a fucking moral compass, that have been attacked by those they perceived as allies and have completely lost their fucking minds. I don't play that game at all as someone who has eaten that shit over and over and over again. Do you want to know why? Because these are my convictions. Okay, this is my worldview. Why the fuck would I change because someone who I previously thought was an ally of mine, or someone who I still think is an ally of mine, has decided in that moment for some sincere confused belief or some insincere, cynical reason, decided to cast me aside as an enemy, as an op. These are my values. This is what I believe in. That's why you look back across the last 13 years of my advocacy and you find consistency there, regardless of what people have said. When I came after Nicki Minaj years ago, people said, you're fucking, you're anti-black, you're a white supremacist. And they said it over and over again. And a lot of people believed it. You know, who gives a shit? Did I stop? Did I go, oh, well, black people don't think I'm cool. They think I'm racist. Well, I'll show them and I'll become racist. Like, that's fucking stupid. I find that a lot of non-Jews' views on Jews is that it pertains to Israel are dependent on how many anti-Zionist Jews they actually know and talk to regularly as a counterbalance. If you don't, you're more likely to veer into anti-Semitism because there's little personal connection preventing that from happening. No, absolutely. That's another major component of this story, which is why I always say the ADL's active counter messaging against anti-Zionist Jews have literally played a formative role in anti-Semitism growing. Every time the ADL comes after someone like myself, which many Nazis fucking despise and will literally say is not a true anti-Israel advocate because I am not an anti-Semite, the ADL packages me with the rest of those fucking Nazis, and to the average person, that looks ridiculous. They're like, okay, well, I've heard this guy fucking defend Jews over and over again, perhaps a little too much to my taste, because they're doing all right in comparison, right? And you're still calling him an anti-Semite, so I guess everyone's a fucking anti-Semite. So I guess the entire term, the application of the term anti-Semite is just simply used in a cynical manner. So I guess anti-Semitism is not real, is the conclusion that a lot of people arrive at. This is precisely the reason why, unfortunately, as I've said over and over again, as I warned over and over again since October 7, that like it's much easier to teach Americans anti-Semitism than it is to teach them principled anti-Zionism. And a lot of Americans are arriving at anti-Zionism through anti-Semitic conspiracies. The good thing here, of course, is that this is not like as an ideological, this is not as rigid of an ideological commitment as one might think, seeing it on the internet. It's more so just like peer pressure, the alluring nature of being able to touch this third rail that previously was considered, impossible to touch, trying to be edgy, all this stuff. Like, I don't think the average 14-year-old that's like, oh, the painting guy was right, is like a sincerely committed neo-Nazi who's like equipped with the ideological backing and is like a genuine fascist. However, unfortunately, it does create a robust organizing ground for people like this. It does create new members for that movement who do become ideologically committed neo-Nazis and shit, you know? But in general, the reason why, I mean, I'm having this conversation currently, but like the reason why it also makes me feel a little silly is because like we're at the precipice of fucking destroying a 93 million populated country of Iran at the behest of Israel. And like having this kind of back and forth, like it's good to have this cleanup just so people understand in my community where I stand on shit like this. But also at the same time, I do kind of feel a little silly having this conversation over and over again, especially when you got people like fucking Randy Fine who are just like every Muslim is deserves to be killed. And like nothing really happens to guys like that. And then we have like the 17th round of like, is anti-Semitism a serious, a super serious part of the discourse back and forth over and over again. And then people call me a fucking philo-Semite or a Jewish exceptionalist or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? The reason why I still want to make sure that people understand where I stand on this, however, is that regardless of how in like the tier list of like severe offenses and systemic forms of discrimination, even if like anti-Semitism doesn't reach that same standard of systemic discrimination as like other forms of bigotry do, it's still a fucking bigotry. And if you anchor your worldview around anti-Semitism and the idea that like Jews are actually controlling the American government, you are going to arrive at the wrong fucking conclusion. Okay? A big part of that also abdicates responsibility away from the Americans who are not Jewish, because Jewish people are also American, obviously. But the American non-Jewish leaders in this country are very responsible for this death and destruction campaign, and are totally like they're super invested in the same fucking versions of empire that we criticize. I don't think we should let. I don't think we should just like hyper focus on the Jewish aspect of this. One, because it's just simply untrue, and two, because why the fuck are you letting the rest of Congress get away? It's like most of this country is still run by fucking wasps. Okay, it's ridiculous. Like it's so ridiculous. You hear fucking Mike Huckabee talk about this shit, and you come to the conclusion that, like, well, one, he literally has slave mindset. Like, he straight up, I think he cares more about Israel than he does about his own children. Like that, like it's impossible not to arrive at that conclusion. Mike Huckabee is an evangelical Christian Zionist, and Mike Huckabee is more invested in Israel than the average American Jew is, 100%. Like, because he is like a unique figure, right? He is uniquely invested. Like, the only other people that have that same fucking mentality about Israel are you know, a handful of like insane, you know, rabbis and whatnot that are Kahanist or Kahanist plus. Like, he has this religious zealotry around Israel's domination because he truly believes that it'll trigger the rapture. This is where genuine fascists start. The current generation of nihilistic irony poison Nazis are the ones shooting up schools and joining the GOP staffer class. Grew up on edgy Nazi memes. The fringe right has spread through humor and internet memes for over a decade now. And for those who are not outright committed, it makes them comfortable with Nazi-like candidacy. Youth polling on James Fishback, for instance. Yes. There's also a responsibility on the fucking left flank here, though. Because if you don't have a sincere commitment at the national level to anti-Zionism on the left, then you're going to lose. You're going to lose to anti-Semites. It's that fucking simple. That's why I was always stressing the importance of AOC being a leader of anti-Zionism in this country, because you don't want to get fucking outflanked by Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. Right? It's ridiculous. Anyway, Ben Lorber had a take on it. Like many other MAGA, Carrie Prishon Baller is blending legitimate critique of Israel and Zionism with Christian anti-Judaism and America First anti-Semitism, and she's being met with the same repressive playbook Zionists use against critics on the right and left. It's a toxic feedback loop between Zionists and anti-Semites that only benefits the forces of nationalism, whether in Israel or the U.S. It's easy to spot the anti-Semitism of these MAGA Israel critics. Goyim is not a progressive rallying cry, nor is it any talk of being a slave to a foreign nation. We shouldn't cheer them on uncritically. Like, you're placing a lot more emphasis on the language itself by being like, no, I'm doing this as a form of resistance. Like, Goy lives matter. You're fucking cringe. You're unimaginably cringe, and either aware of it or unaware of it. But you're being a fucking, you know, you're being a little bit like a neo-Nazi. Okay, calm down. It's just bad. It's just bad look. Bad look. Very cringe. That's precisely the reason why you see all of these fucking people like Sneeko and them use it, okay? I know you love triggering the pro-Israel crowd, okay? Well, guess what? I don't do any of that shit, and I trigger them even more than fucking Sneeko does. So just do what I'm doing. You don't need to do this shit, okay? Do you understand? Trust me. If you want to piss off the pro-Israel crowd, the best possible thing you can do is be a committed anti-Zionist that does not shy away from saying what he truly believes should happen to the state of Israel, or the Zionist entity in particular, while also having firm commitments to fighting against anti-Semitism and every other form of bigotry. Okay? Trust. Think about it. Think about who Jonathan Greenblatt yells about quite a bit, even if they are anti-Semitic. Even if they're maybe subtly anti-Semitic, more subtly anti-Semitic than Nicholas Fuentes or Sneeko or all these other people. Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson knows what buttons not to push when he's talking about Israel. HasanAbi Piker, myself. Literally a lifelong commitment to fighting against all forms of bigotry, including anti-Semitism, and yet my name gets brought up in these conversations. And last but not least, Max fucking Blumenthal, who is Jewish. Okay? So like, if those are your top priorities at the Apartheid Defense League, you're kind of giving the fucking game away. Why have they dropped talking about Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens or Sneeko? Why do they never talk about those people? Because those people are already in the outside group. Those people are not going to be able to convert. Those people are not going to be able to convert Zionist Jews and Zionist Christians into a anti-Zionist commitment. They're not going to be able to do that because there are a lot of people who have already, established their position on this, where they're like, well, I think Israel's dope. I think Israel's awesome. It should exist. And especially if you're Jewish, you're never going to listen to a person like that. You're gonna be like, the fuck? Okay, this guy's clearly anti-Semitic. So, anyway, I mean, it's getting to a point where it's like completely out of my hands. Regardless, I try to do my very best, and I don't shy away from doing this cleanup when I feel like it's a necessity. But the reality of the matter is I'm only one person, and I'm one person that gets fucking attacked non-fucking stop. As a matter of fact, ironically enough, a lot more than a lot of these other people do. So, it's out of my fucking hands. If all of the most powerful forces in American society that are a part of prominent fucking institutions, okay, are constantly saying Israel is for Jews, Jews are for Israel, we love Israel, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic, over and over again, yeah, people are going to be like, okay, I guess I'm fucking anti-Semitic. I don't give a shit about the Jews, I've already heard enough about, like, how they control Hollywood or the banking system. Okay, I guess I'm anti-Semitic. And that's where we're at, right? That's where we're at. Cat's out of the fucking bag at this point. It's virtually impossible to educate Americans on, like, principled anti-Zionism, principled anti-imperialism. It's almost, here, I'll give you one last analogy on this, and I think you will understand it even a little bit better. Okay? You know what it reminds me of? Liberalism. It reminds me of liberalism safeguarding the most, like, appropriate ways of being progressive and constantly casting aside any kind of socialist commentary as, like, unacceptable, okay? Because liberals are anti-communist, liberals are anti-socialist, right? And guess what happens in that process? People find themselves in the throes of fucking fascism, because if they want to break the system and they've never even encountered a communist version of events, or they've never even encountered, like, socialism as an alternative, or they've already been negatively primed against socialism. And slowly but surely, if the more acceptable route that is, like, anti-establishment is fucking fascist or Nazi or super far right, they move into that direction. Okay? And the same goes for anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism. Zionists have made it impossible to do anti-Zionist commentary for years and years and years. And therefore, the most, like, rigorous anti-Israel voices happen to be anti-Semites. And that's why a lot of people found themselves in the throes of anti-Semitism. If you shut off different options, different options in the discourse, and you don't allow it to thrive because you're too worried that it might be captivating and it might actually present a real threat down the line to the established order, well, you've basically created an environment where you did it to yourself, and now the only viable outlet for a lot of Americans is a fascist one. The only viable outlet for a lot of Americans to speak in anti-Israel terms is a Nazi one, is an anti-Semitic one. That's all I got.
Liberal. Happy fun, la la la.
I am a socialist. I live in a crumbling house among piles of literal trash. If someone's saying to you that you're a fake socialist because of the money, tell them that they can shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. Thank you, chatter. Hopefully the house is no longer crumbling. Okay. Are there any other creators like you that explain the difference between this stuff and try to get common people to understand what's happening in a genuine way that comes from the heart? Yeah, I'm sure. Are you following Anthropic versus Pentagon? I am. All right, we're gonna get started in Londonistan, England, lads. Greens win.